All right, Showtime Shawn Porter. One thing about you is that you've always been a throwback fighter. You took every challenge. You can retire with no regrets because you literally fought everyone.
Yeah.
Speaking of throwback fighters, Tszyu, how many fighters in his position, with a guaranteed undisputed title shot, would put it all on the line? Harrison said it's stupid.
Yeah.
They're from a managerial perspective.
Yeah.
From his perspective, it's ballsy as hell. But what do you make of that? And how many? If you had to give me a percentage, how many fighters do you think in that position will take that risk?
You know what? I'm just gonna. I don't think a lot of fighters would take that risk if they were willing to take the risk. I don't think a lot of fighters, managers, and/or promoters would allow them to take the risk. It really, truly is a risk at this point. Obviously, we all know that the belts command money. But I think that it's really, really smart for Tim to take this fight, and I'll tell you why. If Tim gets has a really big performance, great performance against Tony, now he goes back to the drawing board and he can command more money. His stock rises from beating Tony Harrison. So while everyone, and even Tony, may be looking at this like, "What? This is stupid. Why would you do that?" Well, you go from making $1 million in the title in a undisputed matchup against Jamel Charlo to making $1.5 million or $2 million because you performed well before that. So the last thing I'll say about it, out of sight, out of mind. So if anything, it's better for Tim to get in the ring now. Remind everyone of who he is. That way, in the next 3 to 4 months, whenever it's going to be that he gets in the ring with Jamel, everybody remembers, hey, he just fought Tony, this is what he did, opposed to it being 3 to 4 months, and people have to go all the way back to last year and what he did in the ring last year, So overall, I think it's a smart decision by Tim. On paper, maybe not, but in my mind, it is.
Yeah, but from a fighter's perspective, from a learning perspective, it is a real good fight to have because, one of the concerns with Tim is that he kind of jumped the queue a bit and didn't have those. Besides Terrell Gausha, but he didn't have many of those fights against different looks, different opponents to kind of to get to that level. So do you think this is a good? So I know it's a different style, but do you think
from that standpoint, you want to have better experiences before you get in the ring with someone like Tony Harrison. I'm not completely convinced that Tim is going to win this fight, and I think that one of the separations right there between Tim and Tony's extremely intelligent when it comes to his boxing game. So he can force Tim to do some things. He can force Tim to be hesitant in some points in the fight, and he could pull out a decision win. So you definitely want to have experiences against guys like Tony before getting in the ring with someone like him. Yeah.
Okay, and lastly, what have you seen of Tim? Have you seen much of him? Because obviously you're pretty adamant that Harrison takes this. So what do you see?
I wouldn't say I'm adamant that Tony takes this. I personally think on paper Tim is supposed to win. I think that if it goes to a decision, Tim is more than likely going to be the one that's victorious. He's going to more than likely outwork Tony, and he's more than likely going to push forward, and that's what the judges like to see in professional boxing. On the other side of that, what I did say is that Tony's extremely smart, and he could stop Tim's momentum that he carries into the ring round after round. So I think it's a great matchup. I think it's a fight that flies under the radar because these aren't the two biggest names in the division. So.
And lastly, Porter's Way podcast. Great breakdowns. Do you want to give that a little plug now? We've got the little shirt.
It's not a little shirt, all right?
Big shirt.
The Porter Way podcast, we release our episodes every Tuesday. I always tell people it's fun to watch on YouTube, but we're on every podcasting platform. If you happen to need something to listen to while you're at work, while you're cleaning up the house, while you're cooking, anything like that, the Porter Way podcast, entertaining, very informative, and definitely has something for every boxing fan out there.
Thanks so much, man, for your time, and enjoy the rest of your stay.
Thank you, man. Thank you.